Now then, how are we all doing? It's 2 minutes to 9 o'clock. Good evening, and hello chat. Just do a quick roll call in chat. We've got refreshing. Here we go. We've got VB and Spiritus and Mark and Blaze and Leanna and Tom and Az. Vaping Ted, Fuzzy Ann, Whip It Up, Chief, Aaron, Rob, Trevor, Ridian, Max, Bernice, Pete, and me. Yeah, more to come. And Neil's not in chat yet, because I was just going to say to Neil, this is all my own hair. It's not a tube at all. Yeah, just so you know. Yeah. Just thought I'd get that one out after the comment in chat last week. We have in the studio tonight, if I go to the right shot, there he is on screen. It's Dimitris Agrafiotis.
Boy, you botched that up just as bad as your toupee.
Agrafiotis.
Very good, very good. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys across the pond, and it was finally a pleasure to meet you twice.
Twice in 1 year, I know. All these years we've been talking, I met you twice in 1 year. Craziness. And you came over here as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What can I say? So we'll be talking about all sorts of what have you when we go live in about 20 seconds. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the bug up, and then when we come back we will be live. Yes. Yes, good evening. It is 9 o'clock and it's Tuesday the 25th of August. Yes. And as I just said, before we went live, I have in the studio Dimitris Agrafiotis. said it right twice now. All the way from the USA. Thank you much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a busy old week. Let me go to the double shot. There we go. It's been a busy old week with all sorts of things happening over here and over in the States. So Dimitris and I are going to mull those over, yes, on tonight's show. And we've got a few things that we want to talk about. Yeah, but let's kick off straight away though with the titles, and then we can crack on with the show proper. Indeed. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. Yes, indeed, we are back now. I just saw in chat there I was quiet. I've just hiked up the microphone a little bit more than it was. It's very strange because it was fine when we're in the control room, as it is every week. So if it is quiet, let me know, and I will have to speak louder. Yes. And Neil's got an echo. Why have you got an echo, Neil? Have you got two browsers open at the same time? That's usually the case if you've got an Echo, generally. I think, yeah. Dimitris, you're going to be on screen in about 2 seconds. I'm going to give you the thumbs up now. Thumbs up. You're on screen, sir. Welcome to the show this week.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
We were talking last week, and I said, "Do you want to come on the show next week?" And he said, "Yes, anything for you."
Always a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
What a gent. So listen, as we were talking about last week, in the UK, the Public Health England report came out. The whole report saying that e-cigs were 95% safer than using lit tobacco. Had Jerry Stimson on last week talking about it as well, who thinks it's actually, you know, a hell of a lot more than 95%, but I think PHE are kind of hedging their bets a little bit. How was that taken over in the States? What was the reaction over there?
Personally, what I've been saying when I'm quoting the study is at least 95%, because if you do read the study, there is some hinting that you know the number came about through a mathematical equation, I guess. But I think the overall consensus of the report is that at least they're 95%, and I try to put that in there because I don't want to put an actual de facto number because there's so many variables in vaping, you know, and the levels of harm. So. By saying at least 95%, I think that kind of hints to people that it's very, very safe. On your question specifically, it didn't get picked up here from mainstream media as I was expecting it. Mm-hmm. From an advocate's perspective, I think this is probably the best news that we had. It was kind of like a weight lifting off of it, something that needed to be done. Another tool that we can use in our arsenal when we're trying to talk to legislators or public health officials or just trying to educate public in general. Unfortunately, here, the mainstream media, the big press sites did not give it all the credit that it deserved. Now, we did see a lot of blogs and a lot of smaller newspapers doing, you know, basically, hey, we told you so, and why is the FDA trying to regulate e-cigs when we have this report coming out? So we saw a lot of that going on, but you know, to get a prime time 8 o'clock Fox News segment on it, unfortunately, no. And which was to be expected. With deeming regulations right around the corner, a lot of people are hesitant to talk about electronic cigarettes in a positive light. And keep in mind that the FDA, for taking so long to announce the deeming regulations, keep in mind we were expecting them in June of this year. We're already into fall, and we don't predict that they will be out, you know, within the next 60 to 90 days, since they have not reached the Office of Management and Budget yet. So, again, from an advocate's perspective, I love the report, but from a mainstream news media outlet, not so much. We didn't get enough press as we had wished.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, over here, basically all our major news networks are running it as a top story. The BBC had it as a lead story. It was front page news all over the place. And I haven't got anything from last week's show still here, so I can't put any of those bits up. But you know, it was in all the major tabloids as well as the broadsheets, which it's quite unusual, to be fair. If there'd been a fire or something like that related to it, it wouldn't have got generally on the front page. It would have been like page 3 or page 4. But to be on the front sheet of all the newspapers was fantastic in one way, but what they were leading on was the recommendation that e-cigs should be made available to folk in the UK on the national health, so either under prescription or from a stop smoking service. Now, no, it's a bit different over in the States because you don't have a national health service, but as a vapor, if you lived in this country, would you be happy for an e-cig to be made available in a stop smoking centre for free, or would you think that if people smoked, they should really pay for their e-cigs?
I certainly believe that electronic cigarettes are an alternative to smoking, and you certainly should pay for it. Nobody's born with a cigarette in their mouth. and we make the decision to smoke and become addicted to that product, switching to this product, you should continue to pay it for yourself. Now, having said that, here in the States, yeah, it's a little bit different because here the FDA did try to regulate them as a medicine, and they failed in court. So that possibility will never happen. I don't think that the possibility will ever happen in the UK or anywhere in the EU, simply because any product that would be prescribed in a fashion like that would be insufficient and not desirable by the user. So they would fail. So prescribing electronic cigarettes medically is a failure, and it would not be successful in helping people quit. The availability, the affordability, the variety that we have now is what's helping people quit smoking. And you certainly can't have a pharmacy that's going to offer what a vape shop offers as far as options are concerned, certainly not devices and flavors and so forth. So I was a bit saddened to see, but to be fair, I didn't see any of the really serious newsprint in the UK take that route, even though inside the report it was mentioned a couple of times for the medicinal aspect of electronic cigarettes. I think that those tabloids that did attack that did it more for a shock factor, and we're seeing that in the US media as well too. Would somebody read a story about E-Cigs being less harmful, or would somebody read a story where they think that the money that they work hard for and they pay into the government will be going to buy E-Cigs for the citizens, right? So, and that's what the tabloids kind of grasp onto to sell more copies of their paper. I don't think it's ever going to happen in the UK. I don't think it's ever going to happen anywhere. And if it does, it certainly is not going to be successful.
Yeah, you can look at it two ways, really. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you've smoked for 30 years, you've been paying duty on those cigarettes for 30 years. You've also been paying into the national health system in this country for 30 years. So some may say, you should be able to get something back. I'm kind of on the fence about the whole prescription thing, because like you said, and like other people have said as well, and like Jerry Stimson last week was saying, the only way it could be prescribed is if it was medically licensed, and to go down that route, A, costs a lot of money, and B, takes a lot of time, and the only people that have got the time and the money are either pharma or tobacco. So we'll end up with something that is pretty much useless, and maybe somebody will use for a short time, think it doesn't work, and then go back to smoking cigarettes. Whereas
absolutely. Keep in mind, you made the decision to smoke. Nobody forced you. It wasn't an occupational hazard. We pay into a social security system here to retire one day, right? And it's not the same. You can't put it in the same equation. Cigarettes were not forced upon you. You made the decision to pick up a pack of cigarettes and smoke it. When I smoked, every cigarette that I smoked, especially towards the end of my smoking career, the last 4 or 5 years when I was approaching that age where I had to do something, every cigarette that I lit, I thought about dying. Every one of them. And I did, and I continued to do it. So it's a conscious decision to smoke. It's a habit that we choose to do. So I can't see how the two correlate. It's not like you worked somewhere for 20 years and you're expected to get something back. Now, what you paid in taxes and all that, absolutely. That's because the smoker is the heaviest tax sin in the world, because nobody complains about it. You always think that you're doing something bad. So when you're doing something bad, you're going to pay the taxes to continue that habit. So I just don't see it that way. And I mean, it's strictly, I know how conflicted you are, because E-Cigs do have the possibility to help millions of people prolong their lives and avoid tobacco-related illnesses. However, we always have to remember that we're ex-smokers, and this is an alternative to the enjoyment that smoking brought us, even though it was bad for our health, and we're doing it to improve our health and continue to do something that we enjoy.
Yeah. Before we go on, I've got to mention about the noise. We've got no idea what that noise is. We tried to find out what it was before the show. It's a Skype-related noise, and it doesn't appear to be coming from either of us. So, don't know what it is.
The FDA and the NSA together, I think.
Yeah, it's the FDA and everyone else kind of listening in. We have no idea what it is. Yes, it is a controversial point in this country, I have to say. And there have been various columnists in the press that have said it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. Personally, I think what needs to happen is that the doctors and the stop smoking services need to be educated in exactly what vaping is all about, and understand fully, and then they'll be able to give advice, not particularly on devices, but give advice on maybe where to start, maybe in conjunction with a vape shop. I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to kind of organise.
That's not tobacco and big pharma when you go that route too, as well. So, and keep in mind, Clive Bates said at the TMA last year, which I attended, a vape shop employee, a well-trained vape shop employee, is 100 times better than any cessation therapist. And that's if you go into a vape shop that's geared to help you smoke, you're gonna get probably 10 times more information than going to a cessation therapist. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But it's impossible with the scope of our industry for that to happen through a governmental program. It's nearly impossible. I mean, you'd have to have a government official basically sitting on fast tech to learn what a new product is coming out every week. So it can't go that route. All they have to do is to say, the harm is less with e-cigs. Go find something that works for you. That's all they have to do. And it's so simple that it's mind-boggling why the government is making it so difficult for smokers to save their lives.
Yeah, and it's governments all over the world as well. It's not just Europe. It's not just the States. Australia is another huge minefield where even nicotine-containing liquid is illegal in Queensland and other places, and they're all changing. They're all trying to get onto the new nicotine alliances. Attila Danko in Australia is a big advocate, and he's trying his best over there. But it's hard to crack, isn't it?
It's hard everywhere to crack. I mean, just look at country after country: Malaysia, Japan, China now. Countries that India, countries that suffer from tobacco-related illnesses, where a huge portion of their population smokes and dies every year, and it's something that people got to keep in mind, that there's an entire economy, global economy, that's built around that smoking. So it's one thing that we say, okay, well, as public health, we want to save these people, but if it's the same funding and it's the same thing that's keeping this global structure economy going, it's a hard thing to give up as well too. So, we have to weigh here the decisions that are being made, not to justify them, but I get it. I understand. I mean, if it's going to hurt the economy, you want to keep it going. Yet, on the other hand, you want them to quit using the assisted methods, which will supplement that money that they're going to lose. Yeah.
I've got some comments in chat here. And there's something along the lines of I was thinking of earlier on, because we've got a lady over here called Cal McGiffin, and she wrote a column in the Daily Mirror saying that as an ex-smoker, she disagreed with the possibility of having these on the NHS. This is the story. I won't show you the entire story, but the link will go into chat for those who want to have a look. And if you do want to tweet Miss McGiffin, that's her Twitter account. At McGiff, and I did tweet her earlier because my question was, if she didn't think that e-cigarettes were suitable to be available on the NHS, what did she think about the contraceptive pill, or condoms, or needles? Chat have stumped up with, what about methadone for heroin addicts? Now, no one forces anyone to take heroin. Generally, there are a few exceptions, obviously, sometimes. Where bad people do bad things, but generally recreational drug taking is a voluntary action, but yet our health service will help somebody come off those. Thoughts about that, Dimitris?
I believe, again, we don't have to agree on everything to be friends, and I don't see the correlation again between heroin use. You're talking about a drug that can kill you immediately, where smoking takes 20, 30 years to kill you. You're talking about a drug that creates crime. It's a different. I mean, I've been broke before, but I didn't go out to stab or kill or rob anybody to get cigarettes. I usually just bummed a cigarette if I didn't have any cigarettes when I was younger, and money was tight. So I don't think we can correlate the two and put them under the same equation. And I'm a smoker. You can say what you want, that you're a vapor or whatever, but the truth is that I really enjoyed smoking, and I believe I just switched to something that gives me that same enjoyment, better enjoyment at this point, with less harm. And if there's a price to pay for that, if it means that I have to spend $150 on a new mod for me to get it, I'm going to do it. I certainly wouldn't expect somebody to pay for that for me.
No, indeed. I'm playing devil's advocate here. And,
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I know you are. Again, if she was sitting here, I would say the same thing.
And chat are they're saying all sorts of stuff here. None of which is all that relevant, but I'm with you definitely on the triple shot espresso, Jeff Bennion, because there's nothing I like better than a 5-shot latte. Yes. And on that bombshell, we're going to take the first set of ads. We'll be back in 2. Vaporscene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
And now it's back to Vaporscene on Vapor Trails TV. Vaporscene is sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And we are back in the room. And looking through chat during the ads there, hair thinning in men is caused by male hormones. The pill may stop it. I'm not taking the pill. Thank you very much, Leanna Lawless. I don't really care that my hair's going thin. And next week I will have my haircut. Go on, Dimitris. Go on.
I think past the point of going thin. Maybe you need to elaborate a little bit on that. A kid.
I'm even getting it here from my guest. It's crazy. Yes. Next week I will have this shorn. So it might be a tad shiny, but it'll be there anyway. But Jeff's saying if he took the pill he couldn't get pregnant. That's not a bad idea, Jeff. Yeah. Or you could go to your local clinic and get some free condoms. Just saying. Anyway, so at the moment it's 9:20, and in the States, in Sacramento, there is a special hearing going on. This is the one. Special session in Sacramento. It started at 1:30 US time, California. And there was a lot of people there, and just before we went live, Dimitris had an update coming through. Tell us what's going on over there, Dimitris, if you've got the relevant info.
I've got a little update from a couple of the people that are there. There's at least, from what I saw, at least 150 people that were expecting one more bus to come in. It's a good turnout. I'd like to see thousands of people out there. At this point, well, what you're seeing with California, a special session basically means that Senator Leno, that brought the bill to classify vapor products as tobacco, failed in the first attempt. He flat out lied. You're talking about a politician that flat out lied at a hearing to try to pass this bill, and now he got mad. He got mad, and he's mad against the industry, and he has a personal vendetta against vapers and the people that represent the e-cig industry, and he's bringing it to a special session. It passed the first introduction, which was last Monday, and now it's gone to a health committee. So we have a lot of people that are representing the vaping industry to speak against it and to vote against it. California is very crucial because here in the States, there's a lot of copycat going on. So if one state passes a bill, then the other states start to follow, especially when it's a bill that has to do with money that the state makes. Here in New York City, the first indoor vape ban passed in the city, and next thing you know, Chicago was copying it. Los Angeles copied it afterwards. And then smaller municipalities and cities try to do the same thing. In some cases, we fought and we won. In other cases, we failed. So all the eyes now have turned to California on this bill, which would be the end of vaping in the state for many reasons. But the biggest reason is that when you classify a product that contains no tobacco, has at least 95%, at least 90% harm as exists in tobacco, you're misleading your citizens. People in the state that smoke, that are not aware, that are not in the community, that are not on Facebook or watching Vapor Trails TV or listening to Smoke Free Radio every week, you're giving them the picture that vaping is just as harmful as tobacco. That deters people from switching from smoking to vaping. That's a huge problem for the industry, number one. Number two, you have to basically comply with every rule and regulation that is in place for tobacco products now, including wholesale distribution, where you can open up shops, the use of the product inside your shop. It creates a disruption of the distribution of the product, and that's exactly what these states are out to do. They're not going to sit there and wait for the FDA to come up with a ruling on this product. They're going to try to create law in their state that is going to disrupt the product. And if that happens state by state, then who cares about the FDA? At that point, there will be no industry for the FDA to regulate as we know it. There's only going to be a few of the big tobacco companies left, and they can make the rules as they seem fit. So I've been preaching this for a couple years now, that state legislation is extremely important, and that's why I got involved in helping states form associations, the smoke-free associations that are represented by a lobby that can speak on behalf of the industry in every state. California is a special place. There's a lot of people that advocate that just want to cut it off and just let it, sail away towards China. But it's a difficult political climate there. The money is tight in the state. Their budget is shortfalled every year, and with more and more people quitting combustible tobacco, it's only making it hurt worse. So, I'm keeping an eye on it. Obviously, I'm not very confident about the result, simply because of the way that this has taken place. But whatever happens, I hope that we remain strong and united and try to fight further in California and every state here.
Yeah, it does tend to be that one state does something and then the others do follow. But then there's other councils within the states, isn't it? It's like there's New York State and then there's New York City. So they can have different ordinances than the state. Does that happen in the other big cities as well?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, there's Los Angeles is a city in California that basically passed and copied the same thing that New York did. Chicago, again, the same thing there. It's a huge problem here, and it's extremely important for every state to fight for the rights based on their state laws. because not all the laws are the same. Indiana had a different proposal than Tennessee this year. Arkansas had a different proposal than Tennessee. They're all kind of manipulated by Big Tobacco. RJR and specifically is behind it. But every state needs to adjust. It needs to have a lobby representation. It needs to have a trade association for the vendors in the state to fight the specific laws in their state. And then when the time comes with the FDA, because the time will come with the FDA, then all of these forces can join up and shift our focus towards the federal and try to fight the feds then. But right now, it's crucial for the states to get organized, just like it's crucial for countries in the EU to get organized to fight the TPD. You know, it's very hard to create a movement that is global, if not global, European, that's going to fight the TPD. It's easier to create a movement within each country and then have that movement join forces with the rest of them and fight a European law than it is for, you know, trying now to organize on a huge level like it is now.
Yeah. What tends to happen is that we end up playing catch up. I mean, the whole TPD thing we've been following since 2013. We were in at the beginning, telling people how it was going to be. We tried various actions and we got various compromises, but the TPD, especially Article 20, has been passed in law, and it's just now a case of how that's implemented in the member states. So it's a bit like the states in so much as there are the different states within Europe, as opposed to the different states within the US. But the different states in the US can have different laws. In Europe, we've got the one regulation, and they can have very slight differences in how that's implemented. But by 2017, it has to be fully in place. And we've only got one legal action going on from Totally Wicked at the moment. And that's going to be in the courts in October, November time. But
I'm pissed,
yeah, go on.
Marco. I'm pissed. Because both of my trips to the UK, even though we had a great time, both of my trips in the UK, I was shocked, amazed, disturbed by how many vapors and vendors, I have to put that out there, I spoke to that had no clue about the TBD. Or they heard about the TBD and they told me, well, I'm ready for it. And I specifically asked one vendor that told me I'm ready for it. I said, how do you know what exactly the TBD rules will be? And he says, well, you know, we'll have a 10 ml bottle and you know, we'll have, we'll have up to 20. I'm like, did you even read the TBD? I mean, how do you even make, I mean, I get it. You know, you're trying to market your product and you're trying to instill this confidence in your wholesale clients and your customers that, hey, I'm ready for it. Just like I hear people saying, you know, I've put $8 million to the side. I'm ready for the FDA when it comes. What the hell are you thinking? I mean, how do you know, first of all, that it's going to cost $8 million, which it's not. I mean, it's silly to say that. But, I mean, I was so pissed off to talk to so many vapors, especially at a hobbyist type event, because the Vape Jam and the Expo were geared towards the advanced user. Let's not fool ourselves. I was disturbed how many people didn't know what it's going to do. And when in reality, when this is enacted, you're not going to have this Expo again, period. So I'm frustrated, I guess, just like you guys are, being advocates over there across the pond. But it's just the reality where we live at. And we can't expect to have million marches of vapors going out there and speaking on behalf of the product. I think that is unrealistic. We shouldn't expect it. I think that the people that do want to do something about it need to step up and work the back channels, just like our position does, to try and adjust laws to benefit the industry as well, too. I think one of the problems in California, since you brought it up earlier, I think that we were too late. And now everybody's playing catch up. You know, vapors have that mentality. They just don't think it's going to happen to them. And then when it happens, everybody's pissed off. Everybody's like, no, you can't do this to us. But guess what? It's too late by that point. You know, all the laws happen in back rooms and backroom deals, using lobbying. That's how it is, whether we like it or not. You know, just, you know, take it like a man, like they say in the United States. I love that. Just take it like a man. But that is the truth. And if people in the EU, if vapers in the EU don't understand exactly what's going on, we have done, and by we I mean the veteran advocates, companies, industry, we have done a poor job of expressing to them how critical the TPD is to the vaping industry. And again, I fault a lot of the vendors as well too that don't want to scare their customers. They don't want to tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to sell you a kit, I'm going to sell you a tank, and I'm going to sell you a bottle of e-liquid. But guess what? In 8 months, you might not be able to have it. And I get that, because a smoker will look at him and say, what the hell are you trying to sell me? Something that's going to be banned? Why should I invest in this? I get it. But if you're serious about this industry, you need to stop that mentality and inform your customers how bad it's going to be. And we should do the same thing in the United States as well too, which we have failed to do.
Yeah. Now, I spoke to a vendor at one of the expos this year. I won't say which one it was or which vendor it was. And I asked them what their plans were post TPD. And they didn't know. They didn't know exactly how it was going to affect them. So I said to them, I hope you haven't mortgaged your house or taken a huge loan to start this company, because if you don't know now, it could well be too late, and you could well have just thrown all your money down the drain. I was amazed at how many people didn't know what was happening. I was amazed how many people were queuing up 30 deep to get a bag of free juice, and jumping up in the air and shouting and screaming, waving their hands to get some free juice. But when there was some advocacy on the stage, and this is at all the events, when there was people talking about what is happening, there was maybe 15, 20 people there. That was quite upsetting, when people are just interested in getting the free juice. I was going to use a different word there, but I resisted. So they've kind of blinkered. They're kind of walking around with these blinkers on, thinking, I'll be fine, I just want some free stuff. I've just come to get some free stuff and maybe get a new mod. I don't really want to know what's going on with the advocacy side. I don't want to know about the politics. Well, if you don't know about the politics, then you're already going to be losing.
And I blame the events a little bit. I'm going to have a huge rant about this Wednesday night on Smoke Free Radio. Because I have heard the excuses. Oh, this is a party. This is where vapors want to come and have fun. Everybody wants to come and see the cool stuff and get some freebies or whatever, and that's fine. But promote your event to be that way. Don't give me this bullshit. Excuse me, I don't know if I can say that here. Don't give me this BS that, oh, we care about advocacy and we're inviting the advocates here to speak and we're doing so much for advocacy as an event, and then turn around and tell me that this is a party, okay? It's fine to have a party, but advertise it as a party. Don't advertise it as an advocate event. You know, to me, it really upsets me that we took these events that introduced so many people to vaping, and we completely forgot about the smokers. There's not one event that I can say that I have been to that I could, bring a 40-year-old woman inside and tell her, go ahead, this is going to help you quit smoking. And that is sad that we've gotten to that level. Call it what it is, and don't try to use the advocacy to legitimize your event. It's not an advocacy event. It's a big party. You have spoiled the vapors by giving away so much, whoring out your product. That's why vapors, when they go to these events, they expect to walk out of there with 1,000 mils of juice. And if they can't get it, guess what? They're going to go online and they're going to complain about the event. This is amazing. I've never seen this anywhere else. You don't walk into a hi-fi convention, expo, and walk out with speakers and an amplifier and a CD player. It just doesn't happen anywhere. You're going to get a little pen maybe with a company on it. You might get a little mouse pad, with the name, with Pioneer on it. This doesn't happen anywhere else. Why does it happen to happen in ours? When I saw the girls up there talking at Vape Jam UK, my heart broke. Because I've been there, trust me. I've been to situations where I had to advocate and nobody cared. So I felt really bad for them. And in the inside you think to yourself, hey, maybe if I can reach a couple of people, I've done something good. But no, there's 5,000 people in that. You could have done so much better if people would just open up their ears and decloud from the fog a little bit and listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, and talking about clouds, we were talking before the show about a few things, and we'll come into that after the next break. But yes, at the big three, really, there was some advocacy talk going on, and there weren't many people there, which, like I said, it's a real shame, because those people that could have been there could then have been acting upon that information. Instead of, it's only a handful of people who are acting upon that information, the same people that are doing it all the time, and that's why we don't get anywhere, because there's not enough people acting. On that, we'll go to the next set of ads, and when we come back, we will finish off. We'll see you in 2. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Vapers, Dripper just got 40% bigger. So if you love discovering new e-liquids, tell Dripper what flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of juice and at least 5 flavours. With a money back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe, dripper.co.uk.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
And now it's back to Vaper Scene on Vapor Trails TV. Vaper Scene is sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And we are back in the room. It's myself and this fella, Dimitris Agrafiotis. Yes, we're in the 2-shot now. I've taken you off big picture. You're now on small picture with me. And Dimitris and I were talking again during the break there, carrying on that little bit of chat. But you said something interesting about the sub-ohm culture and cloud chasing before the show. Do you want to just go back on that with me?
Yeah, and that's a question that we're getting a lot from the hobbyist community, and I think somebody even in the UK in the first in the Vape Jam tried to kind of put us on the spot about it, because I think a lot of people have a misconception of that we don't. Apologize about that, but I think a lot of people have a misconception about what me and Phil think about sub-ohm, and I'm actually using a sub-ohm tank here at 43 watts. It doesn't mean that we don't like sub-ohming, but I think that as a community and as an industry, we have shifted our focus from the smoker, and exclusively at this point, we're catering to the advanced user. Mm-hmm. There is nothing wrong with somebody taking the journey like we did, and we started at point A and we got to point Z and we learned everything in between. But it's extremely hard for somebody like me to tell me and make me believe that given a smoker 3 milligram e-liquid in a sub-ohm tank will help him quit smoking, because we don't smoke that way. I never lung inhaled a traditional tobacco cigarette, and I'm talking about only traditional tobacco cigarettes, by the way. I just want to put that out there because some people have made some other comments on that as well too. But one of the reasons people ask me now, I haven't put a video up on my YouTube channel in the last 2 months, I think, or maybe a month and a half. Literally, from China, the last 25 packages I've gotten are sub-ohm tanks. And yeah, I just don't have the desire. I mean, I started doing videos. YouTube is not my source of income. I don't do YouTube videos to make a living. I could easily pump out 2 videos a day if that was the case, but I don't vape that way, number one. I don't think it's accurate for me to sit there and digest all these tanks, which pretty much vape all the same. But second of all, it kind of takes away from my mission, and my mission was to help people quit smoking. And if I don't have the products to review, I don't have the starter kits like they used to come in to review, I just don't want to do videos anymore. You know, I think what we need to do is, as a community, the hobbyist side of it, the cloud chasing side of it, the sub-ohm side of it is a welcome addition. I think it can cater to some of the people that are, you know, fidgety, gadgety, that enjoy that whole process. There's nothing wrong with sub-ohming. What is wrong is shifting that and pushing it on smokers and trying to convince me and smokers and other people that that is what people need to quit smoking. That is absolute horse crap. We need more products out there to increase our database of users, to get more smokers to quit, to increase our numbers of people that vote, that can actually make a difference, and go back to the basics. Go back to what all of us started doing these shows, and all of us that got involved in the community were out there to do, and that is to help people transition. Let's not try to make it seem that, oh, we hate cloud chasing. No, I think that there's a place and a time for everything. However, don't have the entire industry shift towards cloud chasing, and always keep an eye on the prize, and the prize is to help people quit smoking.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It seems to be that what's happened is everything was ego, and then it moved on and moved on and moved on and moved on, and now it's more watts, more watts, more watts. Temperature control, which I happen to think is probably one of the second best things to happen in vaping. First one is they actually discovered in the first place, actually created in the first place. But what needs to happen is they need to start putting more R&D into making a better starter product, something that is much better than what we had at the beginning. And obviously what we have now is just worlds away from what there was 5-6 years ago.
You know, I meant to think, Marco, let
Yeah.
me just interject here really quick, just to give you an idea. Last year at ECC, me and Phil walked through 450 juice makers in this 3 buildings, whatever they had. 450 juice makers. Not one of them had 12 milligram juice. Not one of them. So you tell me that's a tobacco harm reduction movement. I call BS on it every day. Criticize me, say what you want about me, but you're going into an event and supposedly bring your smokers, we're going to help them quit, and you don't have liquid at 12 minutes. 6 was the most that you could find, if you found that, right? So that to me is not tobacco harm reduction. That is a hobby. That is a skill set. I've seen some of these coils, man. I swear I can't do it. But I mean, it's a skill set. It's something that people enjoy doing. Go for it. I have no problem with it. But don't tell me that's tobacco harm reduction movement.
Yeah, I have to agree on the whole juice thing. It's very difficult to get 18, 24, 36 at some of the shows this year, I have to say. Now, I mean, I use anything 18 and below. When I was just doing mouth to lung, that was usually 24. I've kind of gone down now, so it's 18 down to 3, depending on what device I'm using. But the people that wanted to get 24, for instance, weren't really getting a decent shot of it, because a lot of the good juice was only available in small milligram.
I would hate to see what happens to David Dorn if he comes to a US show. I mean, there's no way he's going to find any e-liquid to vape. I mean, it's just nearly impossible for him to find anything over here. We'd have to carry on like 100 milligram nicotine with us to pump in his juice. But it's serious. I mean, that is the truth. I think that's one of the reasons why we're hearing a lot of people that are failing trying vaping. Not to mention, the biggest elephant in the room that nobody brings up is the cost of vaping has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're using 3 milligram e-liquid, or when I use 6 milligram in my sub-ohm tank, I vape 15 mils a day to get the nicotine that I need versus the 12 milligram that I use in my K-Fun. So now you're introducing a smoker that's used to spending $10 or 10 pounds a day or whatever, 5 pounds a day in cigarettes, and you're introducing him into a tobacco harm reduction movement where he has to spend twice as much on a sub-ohm tank that you set them up that drinks juice, right? And that's why we're seeing a lot of people fail. We keep telling everybody vaping is cheaper, than you save so much money. BS! You're spending twice as much now with these sub-ohm tanks that are going through 15, 20 mils a day. And some of these premium juices, and I quote that, are charging $23, $24, $27 a bottle. If you're vaping 15, 20 mils a day, you're spending 3 times as much as you did with cigarettes before. So let's not forget about that aspect that nobody wants to bring up, obviously, because everybody's making a ton of money in the juice business. So it's extremely important to go back to the basics. High milligram nicotine, good starter kits. The last tank that came out that I can recommend to a smoker is still, after all, I mean, it seems like it's a century ago the Aspire Nautilus came out. It's still the only tank that we can recommend to a smoker. Where has the innovation come for the smoker? It stopped there. And that's because everybody's catering to the existing vaping industry and not to the smoker.
Yeah, I got a question here from chat. This is from Morph. Do you feel the starter kits and any better models are lacking, i.e. a beginner, intermediate, advanced starter kits? Is there a place for that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's definitely a place. If somebody wants to upgrade, if somebody wants to come in and get something that's a little bit more intricate, if somebody's a gadgety guy, I mean, if I was around when I started, if the ProVary was around, I'd probably jump into that because, variable voltage, I can adjust it. But for somebody like me, it's a gadgety guy that like electronics. Yeah, I could have picked that up instead of picking up the Pure Smoker Prodigy V2, mech mod at the time. So there's definitely a place for it. We're lacking terribly, though, for those starter kits for the people that are looking to make the transition for their health, something that mimics a cigarette. No innovation in smaller batteries. So basically we have a stick battery, then we have the Nautilus, and then we have sub-ohm. There's nothing else, right? So if you're not satisfied with a stick battery, that's the only other 2 choices. And I think that the sub-ohm tanks that are on the market now and taking over the market are actually making it harder for smokers to quit than helping them transition.
Yeah, there's not enough out there for the smoker. Definitely.
Right.
If you go to any vape shop, you'll usually find the little starter kit, which is a plastic bubble with a CE4 and a 650 mAh battery and a USB charger.
You can't use that anymore, though, Marco. You can't use that anymore, Marco. You know why? Because all juice now is 70% VG.
Yes.
So that's, again, this is stuff that people are not talking about. Because when I started vaping, I was vaping a 90% PG juice. Or 100, it could have been, I don't know, it was China. I'm assuming it was all PG. So everything wicked fine. Even now, if I take a bottom coil, whatever, C2 or whatever, or even a top coil, with 90% PG, it's going to work fine. But go to the market now and try to find a 50-50.
It's hard.
Here in the United States, it's extremely hard, right? So now you're confusing even more the smoker because you're telling them, okay, if you go buy this, well, you can't enjoy these delicious e-liquids on this side because they don't work with that. So now it's even more of a confusion to a person that's already has the stress of trying to quit smoking. We're just making it harder, man. And innovation is supposed to make it easier for people, and we're going in reverse steps. And again, like I said, that might not be a popular opinion with some people. It is my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But somebody that has a person in the household with my wife that is the smoker that I'm talking about that transitioned to vaping, she is stuck on an iStick and Nautilus Mini, and that's what she enjoys to stay off cigarettes. And that goes to show you that represents the average smoker, not us, not the hobbyist, not the passionate, not the people that are, constantly looking for the newest and the greatest and chasing the dragon. That does not represent the majority of vapors that are out there. And it definitely we're lacking on helping smokers.
Yeah, I mean, from personal point of view here, my wife started on CE4s and Ego batteries, and I've gradually transitioned her. And now she's got an iStick and she's got a sub-tank mini, but I don't coil it up for sub-ohming. I coil it up using Canthal, so it's more like a device she can use mouth to lung, and that's perfect. A, because I can rebuild it for her, and B, it suits her vaping style. But not everyone wants to get into making coils, and not everyone's got the the ability or the dexterity or what have you. All they need to have is a device that they can put juice in, put it on a battery, and get the nicotine at the decent strength at a PG VG mix that is consistent with being able to vape on those devices.
What I loved about having my wife vape is that whenever I have something that's new, I give it to her to try out, and she represents exactly what the majority of people that vape represent. So you look back here, I tell her, come over here, come up to my vape layer and choose. Look at all the stuff that she's like, no, that doesn't interest me. Today I got the Kabuki. I can't even say it without not laughing. The Kabuki tank by Zen. Okay, it uses the BVC coils from Aspire. These are the old coils, by the way, that don't have the cotton in it because cotton bothers me. So I got the Kabuki tank in. I bought two because these are mouth to lung tanks, and when I had Zen on the show, he told me these are geared for smokers, and we still have the Kabuki tank, and it's gonna help. So I just like any other vapor that has shiny Titus, went and ordered two tanks, got them in. The bottom you unscrew it to fill it, right? Okay, just like the Aspire and all of this that's used. So I figured it'll be something easy. The bottom seal was so tight, I had to put pliers, rubber pliers, to unscrew it. And so I messaged Zen on Skype because he's my friend and I think he's going to take constructive criticism. I said, Zen, I'm a vapor. I knew what to do with this tank when it came in and I couldn't open it up. When I gave it to my wife, you know what she said? She said right off the bat, I don't want it. Because we couldn't get the bottom off. The simplest of things, you can't fill the tank up. And he's like, well, once you open it up, you put a little e-liquid on the bottom, and then when you lube it up, it's ready to go. How is that a product that is geared towards smokers and to put out in the market and tell me that it's geared to trying to help smokers? If I'm a vapor, obviously I know why it's tight and I can't open it. It's just a little example of what I'm trying to tell you. Again, I kind of went off on a different direction, but what I'm trying to get to is that if my wife looks at it and she says, no, right off the bat, she dismisses it, the majority of smokers will dismiss it as well, too, or the vapors that are not, on YouTube constantly like we are.
Yeah. Comment in chat, just before we go any further. This has come from Dr. McLovins, who I think is from over the pond.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
You got to mark that.
He says you forget that many beginners are starting with sub-ohm tanks with the tight coils from mouth to lung draw. So the 70 VG is better because it takes out the PG allergen problems usually, and you create the throat hits with additives in the juice. Certain flavours add throat hit. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with it. I mean, we saw a mouth to lung coil come out from Kanger and Aspire in the last 2 months. So all this happened in the last 2 months because before they didn't have them. Kanger, after pressure of me and Phil, introduced the mouth to lung coil in their tanks, because we always kept saying that we're putting all these sub-ohm tanks and we're putting all these sub-ohm coils, but what's going to happen for the smokers? In my opinion, the Kanger coil does not work that great. The Aspire 1.8 ohm in the new, I don't like it that much. I'll be honest with you. But yeah, okay. Now we're starting to see a few of those coils come in that probably will work with a higher VG juice. I get it, but to tell me that this has been the case, all this time, I'm not buying it. And not to mention that people see, the other people using these big tanks and they're blowing these clouds out, and then they put this mouth to lung tank and they're like, oh, it's not working. Mine's not working because it's not putting out that, that vapor or whatever. It's the reality, folks. I mean, I guess, a lot of people don't want to hear it, but that's the truth.
Yes, I just cut back to me, then back to you very quickly there because you carried on. Yeah, I think it's a real problem, and the manufacturers need to think about what they're doing really, and start producing things that smokers can start on, and smokers can, again, once they've started, can then start moving up. It's all gone very fast. It's all gone very quick. And it's all gearing towards the sub-ohm culture, and we're all guilty of getting the latest thing, the next best thing, and shiny-itis. If I add up everything I've spent in the nearly 4 years I've been vaping, it far outweighs what I would have spent on smoking rolling tobacco. That's for sure.
Sure, absolutely. And we can't do that. When vaping becomes more expensive than smoking, we lost the game. We lost the game at that point. Because my attitude has always been helping smokers. When I first started vaping 5 years ago, I used to talk about the health aspect. And I didn't get anywhere with that, I'll be honest with you. Because you can't sit there in 20, 30 minutes and explain why vaping is better than smoking. And we didn't have the at least 95% less harmful study at the time. So what I always used, hey, how much are you spending on cigarettes? $200 a month? Well, try this. You're going to spend $50 a month. I can't do that anymore.
No.
I can't do that anymore. So that's taken that argument out of the window as well, too. And it should be cheaper. It should be cheaper than smoking because we don't have, the taxes that have been imposed and punished people for smoking all these years. We don't have them. The only one that's punishing now is the industry. The premium, the hype, the Instagram following, that's what's punishing the industry now. China only reacts to the market. It's us that are demanding it, the shops that are selling it, and that's what China's putting out, period.
Yes, it is. It's supply and demand. It really is. We are demanding it. Vapers are demanding it, so China are producing it. Maybe we need to start demanding better starter products, and maybe we need to start talking more to the Chinese manufacturers and the Chinese vendors to see what they can do. There must be something they can do. Listen, we are out of time. We've filled the hour.
I was just gonna say,
Yes, you're back on screen there. I'll put the double shot. There we go. Yes.
No, I was getting started. Now you're telling me to leave? What kind of BS is that?
You can think about this, and you can carry on your show tomorrow night.
I will.
Now, what time does your show go out in the States?
It's 9 p.m. Eastern in the States, which is very, very late for you guys. However, SoundCloud.com/VP Live. You can find all my replays. All the podcasts are posted there under Smoke Free Radio. And, of course, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.com/Vaping Greek if you want to interact with me. I'm always open to good vape discussion.
Yes, indeed. And it's very easy. You can even download the shows in MP3 and play them back, which is what I did with your last show. Yes. A little bit late. But you did have Laurie and Jolly on last week's show.
I did. I really enjoyed it.
She was up late.
Fantastic. I just love talking to people that are so educated on it. She was wonderful, and I got so many great comments on her being on the show. And so yeah, it was great having her on. First time too for me, so really enjoyed it.
Very good.
It's a beautiful thing. Support it.
Indeed, wise words there. You need to do that. So look, we're out of time. Firstly, I'd like to thank Dimitris for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have this gentleman on. And we will get him on again soon, no doubt. Yes, I will be Facebooking him as I usually do. So don't forget, tomorrow night it's The Cave with Matt and Ridian. And Thursday, OMG, Thursday, the man is back. Hi-Fi Stud, Dave Dawn that is, will be back in the room for the Haze Hour. I've got no idea what's going on.
Tune in. I'm the #1 David Dorn fan. I gotta tune in.
Dimitris is the #1 David Dawn fan. So yes, Thursday, the Haze Hour. Monday, you will get the old gits, Bob and Chief. And then I'll be back next week with Vaper Scene. I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm sure I'll find something. So say good night, Dimitris.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much for having me on. And fight the TBD. Do your part over there. Next time I come to the UK, which it won't be for another 6 months. Me and Phil have blacked it out. So, but when I do come to the UK, I want you guys to be winners.
There you go. You heard it there. Also, don't forget you can tune into RY4 Radio. The link has gone into chat. I will see you next week. Have fun. Happy vaping. Peace out. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.